Hey guys, welcome to episode 1 of
Switching Gear. I'm Craig.
And I'm Joe. So what are we going to do in episode 1, Craig?
It's the maiden voyage.
Maiden
Here we go.
voyage.
So, for episode 1, what we're going to be doing, let's not talk about episode 1 just yet.
Okay.
So let's talk about what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be doing in the future for this episode and future episodes. So, just to give you a little background, Joe and I had this discussion a while back that we were going to come up with a gear review channel, but maybe with a little bit of a twist, not your ordinary gear review channel, but doing something where we're switching gear, where, you know, Joe has this great guitar here. It's a Jackson. Look at it. Beautiful. It's an older guitar. I have this Man JP6, newer guitar. So we're going to talk about the differences. We're going to switch gear at one point. He's going to try this guitar. I'm going to try his guitar. And we're going to talk about the differences about the old and the new, and if the old can hang with the new.
Exactly. And that's really the point here, right? Can the old gear of yesterday, can it hang, right? Form, function,
Yeah.
right? Sound, and everything. So we're going to take a look at that. And we're going to do that probably quite often. We're going to review some new gear as well. We're going to review pedals, amps, and so forth. But we're going to start out today with my 1987 Jackson Soloist. Okay, made in USA. You can tell it's from the 80s. Looks the part, sounds the part, plays the part. And we're going to talk about this guitar today, and we're going to see how it compares with something of this generation, right? This is what year?
This is a 2012 Ernie Ball Music Man JP6.
JP6.
It's not brand new, as you can see from the wear and tear, but that's just because I play it a lot, because I happen to love this guitar.
Right. So there's 25 years between these guitars.
Yeah.
Right. So what are the differences, and what are our preferences, and can they hang? Right. So let's start with this guitar. So this guitar, like I said, is 1987. I purchased it new in the spring of 1988. It was new, still on the shelf, and I would go into the store, and it would be up on the shelf, and I would sort of drool every week or so when I would go into the shop, and then I was fortunate enough to be able to acquire it. It's, I believe, a mahogany body, maybe even a mahogany neck. I don't know the actual specs. It has jumbo frets. I think it's a 16-inch compound radius, non-compounded radius, just 16 flat.
So let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
In 1987,
Mm-hmm.
you're in a music store. Is this the top end guitar? Is it like the guitar that's on the shelf that it is, right?
It was.
So
for me.
Yeah. I mean, just in general, I don't remember what guitars went for back then, but I'd imagine this was in the upper echelon of guitars.
It was. They were considered sort of, Jackson was a custom shop, although the word custom shop really wasn't in use back then. They were just Jacksons. But it was sort of the custom shop end of Charvel, right?
Sure.
There were Charvels, and then Jackson came around to sort of be like the high-end version of that.
Right.
And a lot of players in the late 80s started, endorsing Jackson, playing Jacksons.
Yeah.
And that was sort of like the Mount Olympus of guitars. If I can get a Jackson, that would be it.
Yeah. I mean, going back and thinking back to 87, all the bells and whistles are here. But go ahead, keep talking.
Yeah, so I think the most impressive thing about this guitar to me now, all these years, because now it's 31 years old, this guitar, right? The build quality on this guitar, I know I've said this in the past, the build quality on this guitar is as good or better than anything new I've played, including newer Jacksons. This is as good as anything new, as far as I'm concerned. I think Jackson has resculpted the neck heel joint here. I think that it's a little bit more scooped out on the newer models. This has aluminum back plates. I don't know if the new ones still use aluminum, if they're plastic. I don't know. You can see there's some wear on here. I think they have a different shaped cavity now. Might be smaller. I'm not sure. The neck is very flat. It's very fast. It's very symmetrical. A couple of interesting or odd points about this, very much of its time. It originally came with a Jackson Floyd style bridge, and I eventually replaced that. I think I had problems with the saddles on the original version, and probably somewhere around 20 years ago, it's been a while ago now, I put an actual Floyd Rose bridge on here, and it's been awesome ever since. I swapped out some of the pickups. These came with all Jackson standard pickups. I don't even know what the models are, maybe a J90 or something. But I had swapped it out really early on, maybe within the first month or two of having the guitar. I had several different pickups in there. I think I started with a Seymour Duncan distortion. I've had some various DiMarzios. Right now, it's a DiMarzio Tone Zone that's in there. It seems to work great on this guitar. This guitar has just a natural upper mid-range sort of tone to it, and where the tone zone is very deep. It has a lot of bottom end, so it complements it very well. I've had other pickups in here which just over-accentuate that already accentuated high, and it just gets grating. And this, I believe, is a little 59 Seymour Duncan that's in the neck position. And again, just the stock Jackson in the middle. I don't use the middle pickup, so I don't really care about that. Before I get to the controls, I just want to point out, interestingly, shortly thereafter, I believe this changed, but these early style Floyds or Jacksons, the Jackson Floyd licensed version, the guitars had a nut, and then there was the locking system behind it, which is a little strange because typically if you see on a guitar today, the locking system is the nut. It's sort of built into the neck.
Sure.
What makes that odd is to get to the truss rod cover off, you have to take this whole assembly off, unscrew it, and so forth, to get to the truss rod cover to take that off. So it's a little convoluted.
But I'll tell you what's nice about it, and some may argue with this, but you actually use a screwdriver, a flathead, to open those instead of an Allen key, because it's much easier to find a screwdriver in a pinch than an Allen key. So sometimes you don't have that Floyd Allen key you need to unlock.
I've had to at times just use a guitar pick.
Or a dime. Yeah, and that's nice. That's kind of cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's fun.
And it works. The frets, as I said earlier, they're jumbo frets. They're wide. They're high. I like that. Over to the controls. Another of the time sort of layout. The pickup selector switches are 3 on and off switches, which is a little weird because if you're in a situation where you want to switch pickups quickly, in the middle of a solo, say, to do that, you're going to have to, it's 2 moves, or you have to figure out how to do, one move with 2 switches at the same time. This might have been the last model year of that configuration. I think shortly thereafter, by 89 or so, they were doing a regular toggle of some sort.
And that became the thing. The more switches and the more knobs on a guitar, the cooler the guitar.
Yes.
And for me, it used to drive me crazy. I used to like to look at them and say, oh, look at that. I wonder what those do.
Right.
But then when you go to play it, it just didn't work for me.
Right.
Because,
from a functional perspective.
As you know, I like to flip the pickup.
That's right.
So we'll talk about that later.
We'll get to that. But yeah, one more thing about this guitar that I really love is the sustain. The tone of the guitar is nice. The feel is great. It's still one of my favorite guitars after all these years. I still use it to record on certain projects. But there is just, a sustain on this guitar that is not common. I have other guitars that have great sustain. This is in the top tier of that. Just the resonance, the natural resonance on this particular guitar is outstanding. And it looks cool. It's got the 80s graphic.
It's got 80s written all over, but it's cool. Yeah.
It fades off here to gray.
Yeah, sure.
And like I said, it's still great. I still use it. It's still one of my favorite guitars. I've had it for, like we said, 31 years now.
Wow.
And, I got it when I was, 1 years old?
Yeah. Keep telling them that?
Yeah. But yeah.
I was going to say giving away our age. But
so let's talk a little bit about the
the so this, on the other hand, has a lot of features that certainly weren't available back in 1987. Mainly, one of the first things I want to talk about is the piezo or the pizzo,
the
whatever
pizza,
you want to call
the
it.
Pizza piezo?
And please, people, comment, phonetically spell it, do something, because I've heard it spelled a million different ways, and I always feel like I'm saying it the wrong way, but whatever. So anyway, what that is basically the pickup is built into the actual saddle, and it makes a very nice acoustic sound. For those of you that have never heard it before, it's really cool. And the way it works is we actually have 2 output jacks here. And one is for the magnetic pickups, which are these, right? Crunch Lab and Liquefier, both DiMarzios. Both pretty hot, not crazy hot, but hot enough. They give you
high output.
So that's the for the magnetic and this one's for the piezo. On the back, I remove because I like to get access to that area. You have some controls. First, we have the battery for the piezo, and you have your EQ and a mix button there, the mix knob there, and it's driven by a screwdriver. So that's that, and that certainly wasn't available. I don't believe. I think was it the Parker Flies? Was those the first that had those?
I think
right?
it was, yeah.
That probably wasn't that far.
Yeah, it was
after.
maybe a couple of years after that.
Yeah. So, but that's something definitely modern era and cool. And for this particular guitar, what I really love, and we alluded to it before, is quick access to the pickup selector. Because I do
That's Craig's favorite
love
thing.
to switch pickups.
Constantly.
If I'm playing from the 12th fret downward, I'm generally on the bridge pickup. When I go 12th fret higher, I'm usually on the neck pickup. It's just kind of a natural thing for me. I don't know why, but it is. And the other thing I love is the volume knob out of the way. You could see from where I wore out the paint, I pick this way, and if the volume knob's too close, I end up rolling it off, which drives me nuts in a live situation. Obviously, for obvious reasons, that would drive you crazy if you were playing and all of a sudden your sound is gone.
Right.
So when I look at a guitar, one of the things I look for, first thing is the knob out of the way? If it's not, is there a pick guard where I could actually move the knob to a different area, maybe drill a new hole, or remove the tone, and put the volume? Because I don't know about you, I don't think I've ever touched the tone. The only time I've ever touched the tone knob on a guitar is when my guitar sounded like crap, and I said, "What's wrong?" Oh, the tone knob got rolled back somehow.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've always thought that. Who the heck ever use it? And I know there's applications.
Yeah,
I
it
know
totally
a lot of blues
is.
guys, and there's that clapping thing.
100%.
Then it would make sense on that. Well, okay, it's good.
Yeah. It's not for me.
It's not for
I've
me either.
never
It's
rolled
not for me
a
either.
tone knob ever. And like I said, the only time I've ever done it is because my guitar didn't sound right, and I'm like, "What is going on?"
And
more
because
often
it
than
wasn't
not,
on 10.
because the tone wasn't on 10.
Right.
So generally I move the volume either to where the tone is or was,
Mm-hmm.
or I just reroute, I get a new pick guard, get it out of the way because I will roll it down. Another feature is, and you talked about this earlier, is the truss rod access.
Right.
You have to go through a whole song and dance to get to that truss rod.
Yep.
Where this one, there's a wheel right here. You get anything that could fit in that hole and pull it,
That's
and you've
awesome.
adjusted your truss rod.
That's
And
awesome.
look, these guitars are made out of wood, right? They are going to
Warp, wood moves.
weather, whatever.
Wood moves.
It moves. And you could literally take the buzz out of your frets in 5
2
seconds
seconds
flat by just going instead of having to go through a whole, removing this and remove that and get to this and then try it, and then it's cool and you put it all back and you realize it ain't right, now you got to do it again. Well, this is right here. Excellent feature. I don't know if I could own a guitar that doesn't have that quick truss rod access.
I would agree with you.
It's a
I
beautiful
think it's
thing.
one of the selling points of the guitar.
100%.
And another thing I think is really cool, and there's 100 videos about this, I'm sure. I've seen them with John explaining. The layout of the controls is very ergonomic. It's the swing of your arm. Yeah, and I think that's so great.
So yeah,
right?
and that's it.
To your point, you said earlier, right? In the 80s, guitars had all these switches and stuff. Really didn't make functional sense.
Yeah.
Where this layout is just
It's
logical.
great. Literally everything's in that arc of your arm.
Right.
And it's got the cutaway up here, and it fits your arm nicely. Some people realize that it's there. Some people don't. Whatever. It's cool. But we've talked about this before. The guitar gets out of your way, right? It's like you don't have to think about it. It's just everything's where it should be,
right?
Which is great. For me, guitar's hard enough to play. Why do you have to fight it?
Right.
So it's nice to have everything there and convenient, and everything's there and convenient on this guitar for sure. It's got another flat radius neck, fast stainless steel frets, which weren't available, I'm sure, back then. Sustained for days with that. I mean, it's great. Locking tuners in the back, which is nice. Really, the guitar without the Floyd still stays in tune really well. I don't have much issue with that, and it's very similar to the JP6s that are available today. I know this is a few years old, but I don't think they've changed all that much. It's a basswood body. They might have a preamp, a push.
Okay.
I don't know. Boost. I know the Majesty does.
Right.
That might be the only difference. I'm not 100% sure. I should check that out. But it might have a gain boost, push kind of to give you that little boost if necessary. But other than that, this is the same guitar for the most part. If you went and bought a JP6 brand new, this is pretty much what you'd be getting. We'll talk about the Majesties, I'm sure, one day. We'll get our hands on one of those because that's a whole different animal.
I own a couple other Music Mans as well, and maybe we'll do an episode where we just compare different Music Man.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, totally.
So Greg, let's switch gear.
Sure. All right, let's check it out. All right.
So let me go first, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
So, pretty big difference between the feel of this guitar and the feel of that guitar. The width of the neck is different. This neck to me feels contoured, which is pretty cool. That guitar has a very symmetrical neck. It's sort of the same size,
all throughout,
pretty much, more or less. This has sort of a contoured curve in the back, which is kind of cool. I feel that sustain. It's very well balanced. The cutout here is nice. I don't notice that it's there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would make a difference to me if it was like a traditional regular carve.
Aesthetic too. It kind of looks cool.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at. Bridge is nice. Feels a little awkward to me putting my arm. I normally rest this part of my hand on the saddle of the low E string when I play, and this has a little bit of like a cover over here.
Yep, it definitely raises your hand up a little higher than it's accustomed to, especially if you're used to playing on a Floyd.
You can remove that.
You know what? I'm gonna look into that because it's something that I may end up doing because I have the same issue. Actually,
it makes me have to push my hand forward a little bit.
And I don't know if I do that or I actually cut my hand inward. But that takes some getting used to for sure.
So for me, this is in my way.
It's in your way.
Yeah, especially if I'm gonna, as I'm going down, my hand typically is moving down the strings like that. I don't like anything to be there.
So it's funny you say that.
Because you're stationary, you're not moving. So it's, for me, I'm moving my hand a lot.
Yeah. So what's funny is when I first got this guitar, I had been coming from a guitar that had a Floyd, and what I noticed was over time I started to change my technique where I wasn't necessarily keeping my right hand in place, and I started to fan out a little bit. Like, little George Lynch style.
Yeah.
And I started hitting that pickup selector. And that kind of brought attention to me that my technique was changing and something was off. So it actually got me back to the way I was used to playing. So it did a good job for me.
I think it feels great.
Yeah.
And we're going to plug them in a couple of minutes and we're going to hear them. But what are your first impressions there? It's tuned down a bit.
It's tuned down, yeah. Drop D too. So I love it, and I'll tell you why I love it, because I love playing on a Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like at home for me. And what I also love is the pickup ring, because like we were just talking about, I tend to anchor, and it gives my pinky a little bit of support.
Somewhere to go.
Yeah. So normally I tuck it and I actually touch the pickup, and that's why you can see the wear and tear there, because that's basically what's going on. But with the pickup ring, it feels nice. The neck, it's flat and fast, but it feels a little meaty.
Okay.
It feels good, but it feels, I don't know why, it just feels like there's more neck, right? I mean, you getting that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the
yeah, maybe that's what
width
it is.
of the neck is definitely
and that messes with the string spacing and everything else, right? So the string spacing's different, but I love the frets. They're big. It feels great. Volume knob a little too close for my liking, but these are just personal preferences.
Right.
Again, this thing, forget it. For me, I'd be a mess with this.
Yeah.
Because I'm flipping all the time. I would imagine if I was flipping between, I'd have to have two active at once, and then I'd flip the other one off at a certain point, just to get through it. But it's nice. I mean, I love the feel of the access up high with the neck through. It's cut away quite nicely. My hand fits snug in there when I'm accessing the higher frets. Actually plays and feels really nice. For an old guitar, I think it hangs.
It hangs?
So yeah, and look, what's really cool about guitars is everything's upgradable, right? So you talked about this guitar from '87, but you changed the bridge, you've changed the pickups, you've modernized the guitar.
Right.
So even though the nuts and bolts of it are old, you can still modernize it and get it to hang with anything new. It's not going to have some of the bells and whistles. You're not going to get that truss rod adjustment here. You're not going to get, well, I'm sure maybe you can get
the ergonomic layout.
Yeah, the ergonomic, all that kind of stuff. But man, it's a good looking guitar. It's very nostalgic. I feel like I want to play, I don't know, some kind of 80s.
Let's plug these things in.
Cool, let's do it. All right. Oh yeah, we're back. Coffee. So yeah, we love
Gotta have
coffee.
Gotta have coffee.
We can't hang without a coffee. Incidentally, King's Coast Coffee. Check them out. Good stuff. So, anyway, yeah. So we're gonna start playing. First thing I need to ask is, what do? I guess down is on. There you go. And drop. 80s.
Oh yeah.
Gotta do an 80s riff with this guitar. So awkward.
Crazy, right?
Oh god.
I
Man, we
think
gotta
the noise
ungate that.
Yeah, the noise gets kicking.
Cool. Feels good. Feels a little awkward. Like I'm not feeling.
So play around 9th fret or so, 10th fret, B string. Give it
Which
bend
string?
there.
B?
Feel a lot of sustain. That's like the sweet spot.
Feels great. I mean, look, it doesn't feel like that guitar. I feel a little clumsy on it, but there's a lot of things different. There's a lot of things that aren't to my liking, like, you know, just the volume knob being closed, the thicker, fatter neck makes me feel a little uncomfortable on it, but it sounds great. It actually has a pretty warm tone to it. It's pretty cool.
DiMarzio tones on
Yeah, 100%.
One of my favorite pickups.
And it sounds great. It feels cool. I think if I had a little time with it to get used to it, I'd feel a little better. But that's cool. I dig. So I'm gonna switch it over to Joe. He's gonna. There you go.
It's very.
I'm gonna tell you something. So those have elixirs, which are the slipperiest strings ever.
They are. They're very
and
slippery.
I was playing on that today, and I went to this, and I'm feeling very awkward
Okay.
because it's a totally different vibe. What do you think?
It's awesome.
Feels good, right? Oh, you had a little flutter in there.
Yeah.
You had a little flutter.
It's great. It's very comfortable. It's very smooth. I dig the contour of the neck, how the neck sort of tapers off in the back a little bit as you get, on the higher strings.
I find it funny how, you pick up that guitar and the first chord you play is like that A9, like total Dream Theater chord, right? I pick up this guitar and I'm playing like docking flat fives. Let me check this out again. I want to just feel something. I want to check something out here. All right. Oh, I'm off.
There you go. He's pretty good.
Oh, man. Very cool.
So what's the verdict?
The verdict is 100% old gear can hang with new gear. Little caveat. Old gear, I think, needs to be modernized. I think if you had the old stuff in here, not so much, maybe the bridge would have been cool if it stood, I don't know why you replaced the bridge. Maybe it broke. Or maybe
saddles
it got
breaking
old.
or something. Yeah.
But pickups, I think, to match up with this day and age would need to be upgraded, right? I don't think those pickups from 87, maybe we're wrong, but we can't compare because we're not compared to. But feel of the guitar, if I was at a gig and this guitar got whatever stolen or broken a string and you said, hey, Craig, play this one, I'd be comfortable as hell to go up there and play a gig and I'd feel great about it.
Yeah, so, I think you made a great point, right? Because obviously, right, guitar is preference, right? What you like, what you become accustomed to, what 100%. You're used to is a very individual thing. But that being said, the mechanics, nuts and bolts, and performability of the instrument does need to be a certain caliber, right? And these are professional level instruments, right? They're not entry level. These are sort of higher end models of guitars, whether it was for its time or more recent, and they're high performance. They're high performance guitars, right? So that's really what we're talking about. So I think, I mean, other than some of the ergonomic things, I think from a playability perspective and from a tonal perspective, they hang.
100%. I agree.
All right.
So, listen, guys, come back. See us again. Hit the subscribe button. That's important. We get more subscribes, and we're going to get more gear and more stuff to bring your way.
And if you have any ideas of certain types of gear you'd like us to sort of switch, right, and A/B against one another, then let us know. And we'll be back soon with episode 2.
100%. All right.
All right.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Take care.
All right.